On the 17th of February 2024, Letsile Tebogo broke the 300 meter world record by more than a tenth of a second with a time of 30.69. Having broken the world junior record in the 100 meters in 2022 with a time of 9.91, Tebogo entered the conversation of athletes who could potentially break one of the senior sprinting world records in the coming years. Before this 300 meter race, Tebogo's best time in the 300 meters was the 31.52 he ran in 2023, which placed him as the 8th fastest athlete in the event all time. This season's world record-breaking performance puts him ahead of athletes such as Wade van Niekerk, Michael Johnson and Usain Bolt, the three other athletes to run under 31 seconds in the event, with Van Niekerk's time ran in 2017, just a year after he set his 400 meter world record. Speaking of the 400 meters, on the 18th of March 2024, Tebogo lowered his personal best in the event to 44.29, which places him as the 60th fastest athlete of all time in the 400 meters, and with such a smooth race execution, it looks like we may not have to wait too long until he's able to run under 44 seconds. This race placed him as the number 1 ranked athlete in the 400 meters this season, and just a week later he also took the world lead in the 200 meters with a finishing time of 19.94 to record the first sub 20 second race of the season. What makes Tebogo such a remarkable athlete is although his finishing strength in the longer sprint disciplines catches the most attention with a very patient race strategy and gradual acceleration, he actually has an incredible ability to accelerate in the first 10 to 30 meters when running in the 100 as well. In the 100 meter final at the 2023 World Championship, Tebogo was actually the first athlete in the field to reach the 10 meter mark in a time of 1.86 seconds, even ahead of Coleman who reached it in 1.88 seconds. When we remove reaction time, Tebogo still had the fastest 10 meter split with 1.73, with Coleman again in second. When we look at 30 meter splits, Coleman made it to the 30 meter mark first in 3.82 seconds, but Tebogo was just slightly behind in 3.84 seconds. When we remove reaction times, their positions remain the same. Although this wasn't Coleman in his absolute peak form, the fact that Tebogo was leading the race from the gun in the world final, albeit for a short amount of time, shows just how little weaknesses he has in his race ability. When we think of athletes who had an incredible start in the 100 meters come championship time, but also had the finishing speed and power to excel in the 200 and 300 meters, the first athlete that comes to mind has to be Usain Bolt. With Letsile Tebogo being only 20 years old and already performing at such a high level, I think that it's hard to put a cap on expectations for what he might be able to accomplish in the sport, given how quickly he appears to be improving. Since we can easily label Usain Bolt as the best sprinter of his generation, it's an interesting question to ask who is the best sprinter of the post-Bolt generation. With the athletes in the post-Bolt generation still having a long time left in their careers, there is the question of whether to look at accomplishments so far or perceived talent level. When we look at accomplishments, I don't think any sprinter has achieved more in the post-Bolt era than Noah Lyles, given that he has the 4th fastest 200 meter time ever, along with 3 consecutive World Championship golds in the event, 1 World Champs gold in the 100, and 2 golds in the 4x1. If we are to look at talent level, Lyles is of course right up there for the current generation of athletes, and he had some breakout performances at the age of 21 when he set his PBs in the 100 and 200 that stood for several years, but his progress has been quite incremental since his early 20s. Another athlete with extreme talent and potential is the 20-year-old Errian Knighton, but with his focus solely being on the 200 meters, it's hard to rank him as being more talented than Tebogo, seeing as Tebogo is the more versatile athlete. Holding personal bests of 9.88, 19.50, 30.69 and 44.29 at 20 years old leads me to conclude that Tebogo is the most talented sprinter of his generation with the highest ceiling as things stand. With people expecting Tebogo to run faster, it wouldn't surprise me if he clocks faster PBs in the 100 and 200 than Noah Lyles holds currently, although it wouldn't surprise me if Lyles breaks his own PBs as well in the near future. With my assessment of Tebogo being the most talented sprinter of the current generation, Let's look at the athletes who could be considered the most talented of the previous generations. Bolt holds the label for his generation, with Johan Blake most likely in second place. You could put Asafa Powell in third place since he ran like a natural born sprinter, but his relatively late bloom in the sport is contrasting to the juniors' dominating talents of Bolt and Blake. Perhaps Gatlin could be considered third ranked, but let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. In the generation preceding Bolt, we have athletes such as Maurice Green, Atto Bolden, Donovan Bailey, Frank Fredericks and Bruni Surin, with Dwayne Chambers also being extremely fast at junior level, being just 100th of a second behind the world junior record at the time. I would have to say that the most talented athlete of this generation was Maurice Green, which isn't exactly a surprise selection, although he did benefit from masterful coaching and race execution, although he still had to put it all together and had the raw gifts to do so.
Still doesn't seem why I'm over here, then I'm here, I'm all over this damn land.
Nothing really wrong with it, you're not completing your limbs. Let's put it this way, you're so fucking gifted, your gift is working against you now.
Seeing as Donovan Bailey only began taking track seriously at the age of 23, having left the sport after high school to work a regular job, it shows that he had an incredible level of natural talent to go on and break the world record at age 28. While still in high school age 16, he was able to run 100 meters in 10.65 seconds. In the generation preceding Green and Bailey, we have Ben Johnson, Carl Lewis, Linford Christie and Calvin Smith. For this generation, it would seem like Johnson could be the easiest choice because he ran by far the fastest time of that era, but since his records were stripped, his accomplishments could be attributed to banned substances, with his performances in his early 20s being nothing remarkable. I don't think we can go with anyone but Carl Lewis as the most talented sprinter of this generation, but it's an interesting choice between Linford Christie or Calvin Smith for second and third place. Christie has the better resume in the 100 meters, having 10 sub-10 second clockings to Smith's 4, although Smith was a 100 meter world record holder, while Christie has a 100 meter Olympic gold and a faster PB of 9.87 compared to Smith's 9.93. Smith, however, won 2 world championship golds in the 200 meters while they were spaced 4 years apart, while Christie never received a major medal in the 200 in his career. With Smith having an unorthodox running style and a smaller frame, I'm inclined to give him the edge as being the more naturally talented sprinter over the more powerful gym-built athlete that was Christie. Who do you think were the most talented athletes of past generations, and what times might we see Letsile Tebogo run in 2024? Please leave your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching.